From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, Season 5, Episode 8. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, along with my lovely sidekick, the one, the only, the legend, the master of disaster, Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas High School Soccer. He is Mr. Papa Socceritis, Coach Rafa Castorena. Coach, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Dude, we got to work on this. I build you up. I give you
is the long travel from being in Laredo for a week and that Laredo Wi-Fi and
here we go. Oh my God.
So if you're in Laredo, no disrespect, make sure you invest in Google Fiber.
Dude, hey, don't blame it on Laredo, man. That was it. Blame it on the hotel you were in.
Oh, yeah.
What did Matt call it? The McDonald's Wi-Fi, or what did
McDonald's
he call it?
Wi-Fi, yeah.
McDonald's Wi-Fi. So, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Pretty good. Just enjoying a couple of days off. Well, just a little relaxed before I hit the recruiting again. Actually, I'll be at MAC tomorrow, so I'll be in your neck of the woods.
Oh.
And then Tuesday, I think I'm at Sam Houston. I'll be at I think at Highlands and Travis, and then a road trip to Victoria. Have to
road trip
to do Jaguar Day. So anybody wants to take a campus tour at UHV, we actually pay for your lunch and you get a free T-shirt. So
yeah, good deal. So tell us a little bit about your trip. I know. So we're gonna go before we dive into anything going forward on today's show. We had a busy week, man. You had a really busy week. I mean, so did I. But on a different front. But we covered, in case you missed it, we covered our annual, our 5th annual bracketology show. We've changed the format from year to year, from time to time. One show 2 years ago, our 3rd annual, we did a live broadcast in person. All 5 of us?
All 4 of us. Yeah,
4 of us. Who am I missing? No, it was 5 of us. It was 5 of us.
Really?
Yeah, Steve and Harry. Well, you're not counting yourself. You got to count yourself. But yeah, it was all 5 of us, and that was great. That was awesome. Maybe the plan is to hopefully one day be able to do that again. Logistically, just things have to play out. But the other thing was the format this year with the D1, D2 split kind of changed how we wanted to cover bracketology. So if you haven't had a chance, if you did catch it, if you were one of the live listeners, supporters, or if you've gone back and listened to the replay, thank you for that, first of all, particularly for those of you that were on at, what was it, like 11:45 at night on our 3rd night. We appreciate you guys. And we did hit our goal in terms of our initial goal, in terms of our live viewers and listeners. So thank you for that. Really appreciate you guys. But in addition, so we covered it. If you have not listened to it, though, you can find it. It's floating around here on Twix, Twitter X, as we call it, but as well as on YouTube. You can find them all on YouTube, either at the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable YouTube page, or as well as the 50/50 Podcast YouTube page. You can find there. We did it by night. This past Monday we did 4A. Tuesday was 5A, and then 6A was on Wednesday. And a big special thank you to Rafa, as well as to Steve, and a very, very, very big thank you to Mr. Harry Austin, who he's the brainchild behind it all in terms of building the graphics, the brackets, everything, the research, the load, the records, everything. And yes, from time to time, things aren't loaded correctly or listed correctly. And for the most part, that's really through no fault of Harry's. I'm tired of throwing Max Preps under the bus at this point, but it just, yeah. So sometimes we go with the information that we have. And every now and then, like I said, Harry's been working on this for weeks, so it's not that hard for him to inadvertently switch a district matchup. So big thank you to Harry, who did a phenomenal job in that as well. Your thoughts on our bracketology shows this week, Coach?
I think it was very exciting. Now, like I mentioned, with the new format with the D1, D2. So, and also this year we got to pick the state champions as well.
Right.
In the past, we were able to get to the regional finals because of UIL did seeding afterwards for state. No, this year is basically we knew who was going to face each other in that state semifinal. So we have Region 1 versus Region 2, 3
Mhm.
versus 4. Same thing like the kind of like the high school football format. So it was great to go all the way through. I think that's why maybe it took a little bit longer because, like I said, we did, like I said, able to, kind of make those picks all the way through all the rounds. And like I said, even though we were short around, because like I said, there's no more regional quarterfinals, but still we were able to get a couple extra picks. And I think it was exciting to see all the amount of people that were on,
Mhm.
the questions and the corrections. Like I said, Max Preps wasn't don't know one of us again, but but it is what it is, and still waiting a couple districts to get certified and all that. And hopefully, maybe that's something like I said in the future that
Mhm.
maybe the UL could kind of fix, like maybe to get everything in time to that way everything's already posted before
Yeah.
the games and like I
Mhm.
said, like at least a couple of days before the games actually occur. So
Right.
but
Yeah. I mean, we had one region hadn't fully certified, or a couple of
mhm,
districts in one region hadn't fully certified. A couple of teams a couple of schools weren't listed in one particular region. Little things like that, of course, always make it a little harder. But and then, of course, what you have to factor in is when we're covering the entire state, we don't always. We're making these picks based off of a number of data points, but it's based off of the information that we know. Sometimes yes, a particular a particular coach, a particular school, a particular community may know a little bit more, right, about their set of players naturally, right? So when you're covering the state and the number of programs that are that are in the playoffs, it can be daunting, right? So from time to time, your picks, it may not reflect in your picks, or it will reflect in your picks. But we're going to get into all of that more later. We're going to talk about some absolute, as expected, by district chaos. Excuse me, and the new format, what it kind of unveiled, and it's setting up some incredible second round matchups, right? That we were expecting. Some of them we were, some of them got us by surprise. But we're going to get into that as well. That will be. But on today's show, we got a couple of special live guests, as well as we're going to get no more RPI talk, not until Rafa unveils his final RPI of the season, but that's post tournament.
mhm.
But we're also going to get into, we have our special live guests. We're going to get into discuss a little bit of by district chaos, and then we're going to also wrap up with our spotlighting some of our area round matchups that we want to talk about. Hopefully, we have a live guest for that one as well, but we'll see. But yeah, as far as bracketology goes, the big thing is go on there, like, rate, subscribe, both the Sandstorm Soccer Roundtable and our YouTube channel for the 50/50 podcast. Go on there, like, rate, subscribe. As we said, hit that live notification bell, and you won't miss a thing that we do, because 99.9% of everything we do is live. All right, so yeah, again, we talk about it. That unveils all our bloopers, our blunders, our screw ups. You get to see it all, but we don't hide from it. So thank you for being here. We're already at, what is this, about 250 live listeners strong, and we just started. So thank you for you all that are here. But yeah, I mean, we are ready to go. Excited to. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention, because we did get this, we were still getting this question. Uh, what was it? Yes, Friday night, after the first round was almost done, right? The by district round is, yes, there is no more traditional regional tournament. Yes, there is no more traditional state tournament. All right, and yes, in when you get to the state semifinals, it is now Region 1 will face Region 2, and Region 3 will face Region 4. And there's a number of reasons for that, to include logistics and what have you, since those state semifinals will no longer take at a central location. So anything you want to add to that, Coach?
Yeah, it's gonna make things interesting as far as where the games are gonna be held at. A lot more preparation because you'd be a lot fresh. In the past, when you had those, especially like you said, you had the regional semifinal, regional final. You're playing back-to-back games. If you were spent that regional semifinal game, or even the state semifinal game, you had a quick turnaround too. And like I said, not all the times we get the best games because of it, because some teams do run out of gas. They may not have the depth compared to some other schools, but
Right.
so this format's a little bit better.
Mhm.
I think what I like to see maybe in the future, kind of do what football does, have a playoff every weekend. I think that'd be beneficial for the players, give them about more time to recover, and also less traveling, especially during the week, like on a Tuesday, like a Monday or Tuesday. That way they don't miss school. Usually now that a lot of schools are adopting Fridays, as they don't go to school on Friday. They're doing the 4-day weeks. Like I said, some districts are doing that. I think it's a lot better. So maybe that's something to look in the future. But having something like that's going to give us better quality games, and that's why I think this is the format. Trying to get the best quality game,
Right.
for the matchups we have. And I know some people may not agree. With this matchup, this is like a regional final. Blah blah blah. It is what it is, And at the very end, it's you're gonna face them early on or later. You still got to beat them. And if you're gonna get to the state title game and win it, you got to beat the best of the best. And I know there were some teams that got tested this week, and some, they were upset. But like I said, it just makes it. I think this setup makes it more exciting.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I think the recovery part for both for coaches and definitely for players, right? Putting the players first, it's in their best interest. I think it's a great thing for them. For the spectators, yeah, not so much, right? Not so much, right? But it is what it is. The thought process is that it'll give us a much better product come regional final time, state semifinal time, and state final time. So, all right, but that is going to do it. All right, you ready? You ready to get this one going, Rafa?
Yes, we're ready to go.
We get the energy drink going here. All right, we're going to go ahead and bring in our first guest of the day. He returns to us to the 50/50 podcast and Inside Texas High School Soccer. Coach Jason Atkins, the head women's soccer coach of the Smithson Valley Rangers. Coach, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, I promise I am not going to say anything bad about Manchester United. I promise you. Okay?
Go ahead and say it.
You've suffered enough.
You've suffered
enough. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, so we've both suffered. So I get you. So, Coach, how you doing?
Hanging in there. In and up spring break for us, so a little bit of time off. I was at the club fields all day today, so getting the back swing of that as well. So busy.
Yeah. I was going to say, what is that like when you start kind of slowly dipping your toe back in the club, but high school is definitely not over yet? Does that seem weird to you? You've been doing this long enough, but does it still feel kind of weird to you?
It's a little bit weird. It's more tiring than anything. That's the biggest problem. You train Monday, Wednesday, Thursday in club, and you're playing Tuesday, Friday, hopefully in the playoffs,
Right.
So it can get a little bit tiring, but it's different for me because I do girls in high school and boys in club. So sometimes it's a refreshing change between the two.
Yeah, good deal. And how long have you been doing that now, by the way, going on the club side?
Club, I've been doing club for over 28 years, probably.
Have you really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think it was quite as long as you've been at Smithson Valley, but okay.
I was coaching club way before I started coaching in high school.
Gotcha. All of that to say that we're both old, Coach. That's all that means, right? So,
yes.
Gotcha. So, hey, welcome again. Thank you. Excited to have you here. Obviously, you've been here before, and we're grateful to have you back. And you had a tremendous season in your district, right? One of the absolute toughest in Region 4, 5A. Tell us your season, your thoughts. You emerged district champions, top seed as well. What was that like, navigating that district? And obviously your expectations, your hopes were to be district champs, but what did you learn in that process being part of this new district this year?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. The way our district was set up for us, our schedule at Smithson Valley, we had to play the top 5 teams besides us in district in a row. So navigating that was the biggest challenge for us. It's a top heavy district. We got 6 teams, in my opinion, should be playoff teams in 5A in the region. But, you got to take one game at a time. And for us, that was our focus all year. We play this game. We worry about this game. We don't worry about the next one. We don't worry about the last one because we can't change it. So we focus on one game at a time. And in our district, it's tough. And then you got to go play the 3 teams that are at the bottom after that. And sometimes you can get yourself in trouble there because you get in a lull of not playing to our standard or playing the way that we want to play. Right. So that's tough to make sure we stay on track.
What was maybe surprisingly something, I'm not going to say the easiest, but something that turned out to be just easier in just managing all of this whole district season this year that you thought might have been a little bit more just, and I'm not talking, it may not be anything on the field, right? It may not be an opponent, but what turned out to be maybe something that was a little easier than maybe you expected as far as district goes?
Well, I mean, I think it was easy for us to get in a rhythm. Like I said, playing the top 5 teams besides ourselves in district in a row, we get in a rhythm. You get in a rhythm of, training this way on Monday, playing a tough game on Tuesday, Wednesday getting into your recovery day, restarting the engine, Thursday going to training, Friday playing a tough team again, and you kind of get in that rhythm of we have to play at this standard, at this level all the time. Again, like I said, at the end of district, then we hit the 3 teams that are close to the bottom in a row. And that was the toughest thing, is to try to make sure we stay in that rhythm. But I think our girls handle it well. This group is very mature. And that's one thing that really surprised me this year. In the preseason, we kind of struggled a little bit in tournaments, but we had a lot of injuries and we came out of it. And then we got into district and just they're ready to go. I don't have to remind them all the time, that we got to have this standard. So I was really surprised about that.
Yeah. And again, congrats. I know I told you this offline, but wanted to tell you publicly, congrats on your district title. Going into this season, I got to tell you, there was a lot of people that weren't sure as to that's, and you're right. There's 6. You can make the argument for maybe 7 playoff quality, playoff caliber, playoff potential squads in that district. But there was a lot of people that weren't sure, like, hey, what is this going to look like, right? Who's going to emerge, right? Is it going to be kind of an SEC where everybody's beating on everybody, which it kind of was to a certain extent. But winning a district title this year and where you were, I remember, what was it, 2 years ago when you made that run to state, right? And it was, and you had a ton of senior laden squad, a great squad. And you come up a little short when you had the lead up against Grapevine in the state semifinal. I don't want to bring up old feelings, but I know. But I thought I was like, oh my God, they're gonna pull this off. It was awesome. And then of course things take a turn, unfortunate. But from that year, why I mentioned that year is it was kind of like Coach Atkins is gonna lose everybody. He's got a serious rebuild on his hands. Last year you got him, you reloaded right away, quality season, and then here you are this year in an incredibly tough district champs. What has been the consistency there that has led you guys through all of that from 2 years ago? All that talent you lost, you bring in more talent, obviously, you're coaching them up, but what has been the consistency there?
Well, I mean, people forget. I think we've lost 1 district game in the last 5 years. Everybody's kind of surprised, like, where's Smithson Valley coming from? Well, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been at top of our district for a long time, and the expectations from our younger players, our middle school players, before they come in, how many times we go to their games, we go to their training sessions, and they know coming in that this is the expectation that we have. I think we surprise people maybe outside of our community. That we do so well. Like you mentioned, we went to state and we graduated 13 seniors. Every starter was gone from that group. We come back the next year, we lose 1 game in district. And it's just the drive and consistency out of our players and our kids and our community. Our parents are great. Our players are great. They work their tails off. There's no whining and complaining. So it's just a standard, again, that we've set for years. And we expect our players to show up and train hard and play hard and give everything they got for the player next to them. And,
yeah, no doubt. And I've seen it up close and personal, obviously, Coach, having covered a lot of your games, being not too far from, obviously, the school itself. And then, of course, as I often share, I've shared this before, is you were this close, right, to being my daughter's head coach, which I would have loved, absolutely. So to have been, so I've seen, my point is I've seen that program up close, your program up close, and it's incredible. Just your community, your parents, your kids, your coaching philosophy. It's a machine, man. So congratulations, kudos to you. Rafa, what do you got, bro?
I was going to ask Coach, like I said, how do you feel about establishing this type of culture? I think that team really kind of set the bar. How are the players kind of, adapting to that, especially like you mentioned about the middle school kids coming into knowing that the expectations are high?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 24th year at Smithson Valley. When I first got to Smithson Valley, I don't think we won district before, and we won it my first 2 years that I got there. And again, that's a foundation that those girls in the past have set for the girls now. And we still have loads of community come back. We still have loads of players that come back to training, come back to games, talk to the girls, interact with them. And I think it's a legacy that our program has set up going forward. And very important to be part of the community and be a part of your middle school programs. A lot of coaches don't do that. A lot of coaches don't understand what their middle school coaches are trying to do, or they don't mirror what the high school coaches are wanting them to do. We do that very well. We make sure that we have camps over the summer, and we get out there and see these players that are up and coming from 6th grade, 5th grade on. So we know who they are and they know who we are. We invite them to games, and they come get to sit on the sideline with us as games, so they kind of understand the atmosphere that we produce. And hopefully it keeps going, right? And hopefully we break through at some point in time and maybe win a state championship.
Right. Great stuff. Coach, we look ahead now, right? So, well, before we do that, kind of tell us a little bit, take us through your by-district round match. What was that like? How did that unfold? And then we look ahead to your area round matchup. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, we played Hayes. We knew Hayes was going to be tough, physical. We didn't get any film or anything on them. We just got to talk to a couple coaches about what to expect. We were at home, so we always perform and play really well at home. So that's a good thing for us. But we knew they were strong, physical, very direct, and we had to match that early. And really, we did. I mean, we scored in the first minute and 30 seconds, which kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. We got all of our bench players in, so that's good for those younger girls to get an experience of playing in a playoff game. It's 1-0 at halftime, came out in the second half. We scored 3 goals pretty quick. And again, all of our younger players got to get in, and that's a culture thing too. That's where those players understand all the work that they put in is going to pay off one day. And, Hayes was strong and physical team, but I think our girls just are prepared for the moment.
Right. Now we look forward to the area round matchup, and you have the J Mustangs come to town, the John J Mustangs. And that is a squad, Coach, that I am personally very, very familiar with.
Yes.
And so definitely you have your hands full there, but you have them coming to your home field again, right? So back-to-back home games, which is awesome to have, right, when you're hosting. How do you keep that, for lack of better words, that, hey, let's not get complacent with your girls. We got another home match, so we don't have to make a far trip. We're familiar with everything. How do you keep that complacency from setting in?
Like I said before, we're a one game at a time mentality. We never talk about who we're playing next, and we never talk about the last game when we're preparing for this one. We did that on that playoff run. Everybody, when we went to the state semifinal, everybody asked me all the time, did you talk about your undefeated run? And I said, no, not once. We never once talked about our undefeated run the whole year, because we don't care about that. It's the next game mentality. And that's how we try to stay focused is don't worry about the record. Don't worry about what happened last game, and don't worry about what might be down the horizon. Right. So that's what we try to focus on.
Yeah. And now your thoughts. Tell us a little bit about Jay. What do you know? How do you handle that as you get ready for the area round matchup? Tell us again, just when is that match? Obviously it's at Ranger Stadium. When, where, or not where, but what time? Give us the details. And what are your thoughts on Jay?
This Tuesday coming up, we play Jay at home, 6 p.m. at Smithson Valley Ranger Stadium. Come out. All right. I don't know too much about Jay, to be honest. Again, I don't have any film on them. They might have on us. I don't know. But it's just talking to some coaches in the area that have played them. It's an historic year for Jay, right?
Correct.
First win in history in the playoffs, right? Am I correct on that, Hector?
Yeah, first district title in program history, and first playoff victory in program history.
Yeah, and so that could be a good thing for them, or it could be a bad thing for them. And obviously in the first round they won, so it might not be a bad thing. I think they're riding a high, and I think they're playing well, playing good soccer. But hopefully, getting them at Smithson Valley weighs it in our favor a little bit. I think our girls, again, a little more comfortable at home. We're in our routine. We're back in school. Last bell rings, we do this. This is our schedule that we follow. We have a very strict schedule going into games, what we do at what times and preparing for matches. So it's easier at home when you're at home instead of traveling. So I think that'll help us going into this game.
Gotcha. Rafa?
Coach, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about this new format for the playoffs that you introduced for this year? What's your take on that?
Well, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I think the playoff structure is good as far as having big schools, small schools. I think we've needed this in Texas for a long time. You look even at in 5A, you have anywhere from, 1,100 kids in a school to 2,000 kids in a school. And that's a big gap. There's a big difference. And people don't realize how many soccer players or athletes you could have in that group. So I think it was sorely needed that we had the two divisions in the playoffs. My one complaint is I think it should be pre-divided up. So I'll give you our district as an example. You got Wagner, you got Smithson Valley, you got New Braunfels, you've got Piper. All those are big school numbers, right? And say 3 of those schools or 4 of those schools make the playoffs. Well, 2 of them are playing in a small school playoff bracket when they're really not a small school. So I think they need to fix that, but I don't make those decisions. So
right. Yeah, well, neither do I, Coach. But hey, the more we discuss that, right? The more we discuss that, the more we let that coaching organization in Tasco, who again, Tasco does not make these rules. They're not a rule making legislation organization, but they are a soundboard, right? They are a voice, right? So if you're a coach who has who many coaches are of that thought, of that opinion, speak with your athletic coordinator, right? Speak with your school district athletic coordinators. Let it be known. Speak with your representatives within Tasco, within your board members within your region, and then of course there's this platform as well, and amongst many others on social media. But to complain for the sake of complaining and that's it, and hey, I don't like it, it's not going to get us anywhere. That said, is it going to happen next year right in the middle of a realignment cycle? Probably not. It probably can't, to be honest, or it shouldn't really at this point. But it will most likely, if enough steam is made and enough discussion is had, may become the following cycle. We'll see that change enacted. So, but I agree with you, Coach. It's a step in the right direction. Is it ever going to be perfect? Absolutely not. So I think we have to be fair to the UIL on that front as well. So.
Yeah, and you get in your high school associations, your Tasco associations, and you have your regional meetings, you have your state meetings, and make sure that you're talking to your fellow coaches about the situation. You got some small schools that are, again, very good schools and very good players and very good teams that should be probably in the playoffs right now and the small school playoff bracket, but they're not because they were in a district with some schools that were just bigger. So it's unfortunate, but again, like you said, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think we've needed this. Can we tweak it? Can we make it better? Yeah, I think we can. And I believe UIL will get it done at some point in time.
Yeah. And THSEA coaching school included, right? I know, Coach, you and I, we spoke there. We were there together this past summer here in San Antonio. And that's just another opportunity at Tasco, I get it. You're pretty much exclusively around soccer people. But believe it or not, coaching school, THSEA, is another great opportunity to speak to people, big picture people that are outside of our realm of the immediate soccer world, who are just some decision makers, right? And when they're getting that kind of input and feedback from coaches, from enough coaches, discussions, that's how discussions start, right? So when you're there, if you're going to coaching school, I know a lot of soccer coaches are like, well, I only go to Tasco, or I only go to one. This is where coaching school actually, believe it or not, THSEA, where it matters, right? So yeah, great point. Coach, so Rafa asked you about the D1, D2 thought process. Now, we looking at the bigger landscape, Region 4, right? We talked about your district. We talked about by district and area. Now, looking at a big picture landscape here for Region 4, what are your thoughts on Region 4?
It's one of those things that it's unfortunate. I think that two of the stronger districts in our region are matched up in the first round. I think our district in that Lander, Rouse, and Cedar Park district are matched up in the first round. But like Rafa said, you got to play. You got to play who's in front of you, and it doesn't matter if it's the first round or the fifth round. You got to play and win those games if you want to go far. I think Rouse is doing really well. They're really strong. They beat Waffles in the first round. And Division One, I think Cedar Park is really good. Piper won in the first round out of our district as well. I think those two teams are probably front runners in Division Two. I think hopefully us and Rouse are front runners in Division One. So I think it's a good tournament. I think it's the format, like I said, in the playoffs is much better. I do like not having a regional tournament. I think that needed to go a long time ago, and UIL did a great job of that. State tournament as well, like y'all mentioned earlier in your broadcast. Playing on Thursday and turn around to play Friday, or playing Friday and turn around and have to play Saturday is not what's best for the players and best for competition. So I think that's a great format as well. I think our region can do well. I mean, I think everybody's kind of overlooking our region going into the state semifinals. But I think our region is going to represent us well against Region 3, and I think we got a good chance, whoever comes out of it, either side, D1 or D2.
Right. Yeah. Rafa, you got any final thoughts, final questions for Coach?
Just the future of Simpson Valley soccer. What do you see that the next few years? How do you envision that? State title, possible state title? I think
Rafa's trying to retire. I think Rafa's trying to retire you, Coach. He's trying to retire you here.
It's like the football team, like I said, like your football team just established.
Right. Yeah. Nice little state title there. Congrats. Yeah.
So how do you envision that the future of Simpson Valley soccer from here on out?
Like I said before, I've been there a long time, and we've been building to getting to a state championship. If I believe firmly, and this is how we look at things every year, if you don't go into the year trying to win a state championship, there's something wrong, right? I'm not saying that you're going to win one every year, and I'm not going to say that your squad is going to win you one every year, but that is your main goal. Every year we do our list of goals for the year, and always first thing we put up is state, because that's what you're playing for. Hopefully we get there again one year, maybe this year, who knows? But again, I can't focus on the individual wins and losses. If I did that, then I'd be up all night every single night, because we've lost some games in our history. So we're going to continue to lose some games in our history. But our ultimate goal is to win state every year, and hopefully we do. Hopefully we get there one time.
Gotcha. Again, we were talking with Coach Jason Atkins, the head women's soccer coach of the Smithson Valley Rangers. Coach, have really loved having you on. Thank you again. Your accessibility, really appreciate you. Obviously, when we spoke this morning, you were literally out at the fields for club. So, thank you for making this happen. Before we let you go, just got two more things for you. First one, all right, and not trying to open up a can of worms here, but your thought. Every coach that we've been speaking to this year, we ask this, right? In addition to the D1, D2, the other big change in our sport, right? The mercy rule, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts on that one?
That one to me is a double-edged sword. I think at some point in time we needed to institute some type of mercy rule, because some teams don't know how to control their team when they're winning. That's the nicest way I can put that, I think. But it's a double-edged sword too, because I think you're missing out on 20 minutes of playing time for some of those kids that maybe don't play as much. And high school sports is about kids playing, right? Kids getting into their school teams and getting in their school environment and getting playing time and being part of the program and doing those things. So you're missing out on 20 minutes of playing time for that group. But hey, maybe you're ending a game early that's gotten out of hand. So I don't have a problem with the mercy rule. But I think it does have a double-edged sword there. You got your 2s and 3s that could probably play a little bit more in those games that are not getting that playing time. So, yeah, I hear you. There's no perfect solution. There's no perfect answer for sure. So this is why we do like to make it a point to collect coaches' thoughts in the process. Mm-hmm. And my last one for you, Coach, is who is your favorite English Premier League team, and why is it Liverpool? So it is not Liverpool. It's Manchester United.
I was going to catch you slipping there.
No, I tell people this all the time. If you're over the age of like 45 in America and you're a diehard, Man City fan or, something like that, I'm like, you're lying, because when we were kids, the only teams you could ever watch on TV were Manchester United or Liverpool,
Yeah.
So if you're a Liverpool fan, I get it. You had a chance to watch them when you were a kid growing up. If you're a United fan, great. But I'm a diehard City fan and I have my whole life. No, you weren't, because City was no good.
No, they weren't. Yeah, I know.
You're no good when you were younger. So you're lying.
Your neighbors. Yeah. Forever. Yeah. But again, we were talking with Coach Jason Atkins, the head women's soccer coach of the Smithson Valley Rangers. They prepare for their area round matchup versus the San Antonio John Jay Mustangs this Tuesday. You said 6 p.m., right, Coach?
6 p.m. Yes, sir.
Tuesday, 6 p.m. at Smithson Valley Ranger Stadium. Coach, thank you again. Best of luck to you. Congrats on a fabulous season. No matter what happens on Tuesday, fabulous season. You've done great. Respect you a ton for how you run your program, how you do things, and thank you again for being here.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Take care, Coach. Have a good one.
Take care, Coach.
Excuse me. And special thanks again to Coach Atkins of Smithson Valley. What are your thoughts on what he had to share?
Like I said, what are you gonna say about Lady Ranger soccer? They've just been consistent. I think Coach Atkins has done a fabulous job, really, with that program, and I think they're here in San Antonio. Like I said, they kind of set the bar high. It's being one of the elite programs. Like I said, you have other ones here too, but they, to lose one district game in all those years says something a lot. Like you talk about like the Southwest boys, how they've been dominant with their district play. With Smithson Valley Girls has kind of been the same way too. So, and I think, like I said, I think they have a good shot. You mentioned about Leander Rouse. I think that's if that is a regional final, that's gonna be a fabulous game. And I think what will help them out also, will help. I think, he mentioned about the regional play. Will help out is having that rest time to prepare for that game. And like I said, having two well-rested teams is just going to make that game even better.
Yeah.
And like I said, a good opportunity to get to the next step. And you never know, anything can happen if you get that. Sometimes you do need luck. In the playoffs, the stars align for you. I mean, it can happen. So like I said, but good luck to that. We love to have a state champion here from Region 4.
Yeah, and all roads. It seems like all roads lead through in some way, shape, or form for 5A Division 1 through Rouse, right? So Rouse is the one continuous program that keeps coming up, and rightfully so. They're for real. They're for real. So should be a great matchup along the way if it comes to fruition and they meet. But special thanks to Coach Atkins again for joining us. But hey, we're going to transition now. We're going to bring in our other guest, who is also in his own right, no stranger to the 50/50 podcast or Inside Texas High School Soccer. He is Coach Will Maloney, the head women's soccer coach of the Lake Travis Lady Cavaliers. Coach, how are you?
Doing well. I appreciate y'all having me on again.
Awesome. Hey, how's your Sunday? How were things? What's new before we start diving into talking all the business
Sunday's
stuff?
been good. It's a lot better than Saturdays. I think people forget, coaches, that we get to, like, you win on Friday. The next, you don't really get a break. You're up at 8 a.m. the next morning, spending 3 hours of your Saturday trying to lock down a neutral site that doesn't exist.
So tell us about that, because I know you and I spoke a little bit about it offline, and maybe we can peel back the curtain here a little bit. We'll let some of our listeners know what coaches kind of go through as you navigate the playoffs. It's not as simple as, hey, we want to play here, let's go here, right? It's never that simple. So talk to us a little bit about that.
No, and spring break kind of threw a wrench in the plans as well, because all of our athletic administration was out of town on vacation, and so you're trying to plan everything in advance, so that, again, it makes it a lot easier. So I was trying to plan our first round and also trying to plan our second round about 10 days prior. Obviously, that wasn't able to materialize, but you get round one done, and then Tuesday is only 4 days away. There were so many games on Thursday that you win on Friday, try to find a place on Saturday, and they're all booked up already. So it makes it not very fun to do it.
Not very fun.
And we contacted, I think, 6 school districts and 6 different schools looking even for a doubleheader. We'll play at 5 o'clock. We'll play at 6 o'clock. We'll play at 8 or 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Right.
just let us play somewhere, and there just wasn't anything available.
Yeah, one location was actually, believe it or not, filming. What was a commercial? Right? Is that what it was? Is that what
Yeah. San
we
Marcos.
won't mention, but yeah, yeah, it was filming a commercial apparently. So sometimes these are the things that coaches have to navigate, right? When when trying to book a neutral site location. All right, Coach. Well, hey, so first of all, congrats on a fabulous season. You navigated an incredibly tough district. You guys come out on top. And then, so before we start talking playoffs, tell us a little bit more about your squad, the season that was, and how much of it has played out exactly like you thought, and how much of it has been a bit of a surprise to you.
Yeah, honestly, I think just to be honest, I think we've had a pretty good season so far, if I do say so myself. We started the season losing to Coppell, and then we've gone, I think, 19 unbeaten. We just scored our 90th goal of the season. We only have 11 against. We've only actually been losing for about 10 minutes since that Coppell game, averaging 4.5 goals a game, only giving up a half goal a game. So typically that's a pretty good recipe for a winning season. But we knew coming in, and as soon as we lost the regional quarterfinal to Westlake, that we had about 8 returning starters, and we knew that we had people coming in that were going to be able to kind of fill those spots. And so the expectation, pretty much from 24 hours after losing Westlake, we were very, very confident that we were kind of going to have a successful season and be where we're at right now.
Yeah. So all of that data, all those stats you're dropping there, that's kind of basically, we can just say that you guys are pretty decent at this soccer thing. Right? You guys are pretty decent. So that said, right, this year, so you mentioned the Coppell loss, but since then, right, rattling off all those wins, what's been the catalyst in that whole process, right, leading to the consistency that, because obviously as coaches, right, we very much try to keep our players in a routine, be creatures of habit, right? But certain things inevitably come up. You're navigating a district season high. Because there can be highs and lows even when you're still winning, right? So what has been the catalyst? What's been the consistency that's led you all through that process? What makes you all different this season compared to maybe years past?
Right. So I think the first time I was on the podcast in Tasco, I was talking about my first year being here, and that we were really strong off the start, and then kind of fell apart or got tired the second half of district and didn't peak at the right time. Last year, I think it was the same thing. We rattled off, I think, 7 or 8 straight district wins, and then we went 500 in the second half of district. This year, we've kind of been able to maintain our consistency. And again, every single game, we knew what to expect from our girls, and they came out and did it. But I think a 17 district has really benefited that. When you're talking about an 8 or 9 team district, I think you have to be on every single game. With 7 teams, you have, or 7 team district, you have 2 bye games already built into that, and then you have probably 2 opponents that are going to be maybe a little bit less competitive compared to the rest. And so being able to periodize weeks and periodize trainings to be able to make sure our girls are fit and firing at all the right times has been a huge benefit to us.
Yeah, no doubt. You hit on the recovery and the periodization piece, which I think if you're coaching in this day and age, and you have to be in tune, you have to know the pulse of your athletes, particularly that as far as your club players, right? And balancing all of that. And when they're also in your athletic period, right? Your soccer class, maybe. How do you handle that, knowing just the quality and quantity of club players that you have? And I know we can highlight a couple of your players individually, but how do you try to strike that balance with communicating with them and then carrying out your week in and week out, preseason, in season, and then of course off season?
Right. I mean, we have a weekly, we have a calendar, number one, that we send out in the beginning of the year, so they have an idea of when we're training. We send out a weekly schedule. We're lucky to be in block schedule, so we know that we have an hour training every single day, or at least an hour blocked for training if we want to use it. plus we go an hour after school. And so again, if we know that they're going to ECNL Dallas and they're about to play and they have a club game on Friday and then they have another club game on Tuesday after 3 games on the weekend, and we have a bye coming up, we know that we can lighten all of our training sessions leading up to it. And then after that, to give them that mental recovery and the physical recovery to just kind of reset and then kind of restart next week, going a little bit harder and making sure they're fit and firing.
Yeah, man. It's a process. And if you're not in tune with that, if you're not communicating with your athletes, you're not going to have success on the field, but more importantly is their health, right? And you talk about just the mindset as well. So great points, Coach. One thing we did want to mention here, big shout out to Mr. Harry Austin chiming in here earlier when Coach Atkins was on. I appreciate you, Harry. Thank you for listening, as well as Ken Murphy of Ken Murphy Photography, who just brought up a great little point here, talking about some huge matchups in the upcoming days in the area round, which we'll get to in a minute here with Coach Maloney. But before we move on, let's go. Rafa, you got any questions, any thoughts for Coach Maloney?
Yeah, Coach. So going into the season after kind of a little falling short last season, what was the mindset of the girls going into 2025? What were their goals? Going into this season.
State again. We knew that we were very, very close in a couple moments away from getting to the regional tournament last year. We knew the group that we had coming up. So again, 24 hours after losing to Westlake and regrouping, we've pretty much had the same core for the last 3 years. And so they really, really want to kind of leave a legacy and be great. And so again, the maturity of the group has been awesome. And as a collective, everyone wants to go as far as they can, or as far as we can. And we're hoping it's the last day of the season.
Yeah, and so your by-district round matchup, Coach, tell us a little bit about that, how that played out, and because it was tough. It was a tough one versus Cedar Ridge. But your thoughts on that, and then we dive into a little bit more about your upcoming area round matchup.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting because I talked about having a 7-team district being kind of easier for us and managing the girls. Last year in our 9-team district, I think 3 of our 4 teams advanced to the second round from 26-6A. And then Buda Johnson was the 4th team. They gave Round Rock everything that they could. The roles have been kind of switched, and Round Rock now has a 9-team district, and we have a 7-team district. And 3 of their 4 teams advanced to the second round, and we're the only ones left standing this year. And so I think there's an interesting kind of balance within that, where if you're in a 9-team district, I think you're so switched on mentally all the time. It kind of prepares you a little bit more for playoffs, versus a 7-team district where you kind of get those mental breaks. But yes, Cedar Ridge, they were a 4th seed. And they were incredibly organized. All credit to Coach Hoyt over there, who prepared them very well, even to make the playoffs, and had a great game plan for us. They gave us everything that we could handle, and we're very fortunate and happy to advance on to the second round. But they also have an incredible keeper. She's a national team keeper in the national team pool, committed to Mississippi State. We have a great goalkeeper, Colette Whitsitt. And so we were going back and forth. It was end to end. And it was kind of a keeper clinic, kind of one diving save from Liesel from Cedar Ridge, and then Colette would come back and do another diving save to keep us in it. So again, it was a really fun game to be a part of.
Yeah. Now, speaking of national teams, you have some little national team call-ups, youth national team call-ups, right, in your own right on your squad, at least in the past. Tell us a little bit about that. That's got to be pretty cool, right?
No, it's really, really awesome. We have a freshman forward, Ella Carr. She is in the England national team. She's earned it. She's an incredible person, and an incredible player. She brings kind of a different level of intensity to every single training. She's obviously very, very talented, but she's been very fun to get to know this year, and we're very, very excited for her.
Yeah, great stuff. And also, speaking of Dad, former head women's soccer coach at OU, who's also a alumni of the 50/50 podcast. He was on here before, so got to brag on that a little bit as well. Give Dad a little bit of love as well, in addition to his daughter. They're doing some great stuff there. So huge stuff. we've mentioned one of your star players as well, Amelia Clark. Tell us a little bit about her. She's been killing it this year.
Yeah. So again, we talked about kind of our core group of players. Every single starter that we've had has been on varsity and started for the last 3 years or 2 years. Every single sophomore that we've had has started for 2 years. And then our juniors have started for the last 3 years, one of them being Amelia Clark. And it's been incredibly rewarding and awesome to see her growth as a person, as a leader, and as a player over the last 3 years. She started as kind of a little freshman. We still kind of talk about, and we have this video of her the first time she comes into a varsity scrimmage. She gets knocked flat on the ground, and then a year later, she's scoring 22 goals and getting the 26-6A district MVP. And then this year, as a junior, even upping her level, she's got 21 goals and 11 assists. And she works very, very well with Ella, and they combine very awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, she's an incredible talent. She's going on an official visit this week.
Nice.
But we're really happy for all the interest that she's getting as well.
Yeah, great stuff. And again, we want to thank all of our listeners. If you're listening live, we got over 800 plus across all our platforms, live listeners right now. Some of the places they're listening to us right now include Laredo, McAllen, Corpus. They're listening to us in Houston, Conroe, Katy, and of course, the greater Austin area. Rafa, thoughts on anything as we start moving, navigating, talking a little bit more about moving on to the area round? What are your thoughts that you might have for Coach Maloney?
Actually, I was going to go into that. You mentioned about great goalkeepers. Next area round, your opponent also has a great goalkeeper.
Do they? Who is it?
Madison Harris. Madison Harris. How do you feel about going against her?
We're excited. We like facing good goalkeepers. Again, we talked about it. We scored 90 goals so far this season. Amelia Clark's got 21. Ella Clark's got 18. Brecken Farrell's got 10. Jazzy's got 10. Bannon's got 10. And so we got a lot of goal scorers, and they get excited about facing good teams and good goalkeepers. So I'm sure it'll be a fun matchup. And again, we're excited for it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's always a good thing to have when you have plenty of goal scorers, right? It's a great thing to have. Now, tell us a little bit more about this. Give us the details on this upcoming area round matchup, Coach. We know it's Tuesday, but where, location, date, or not date, time, and give us your thoughts on what you know about the San Antonio Taft.
Yeah. So again, we talked about how it was virtually impossible to find a neutral site. And so we, after about 3 hours of pulling out our hair, and Coach Davis, I apologize for bugging you so much over the 10 days. Again, I told you I was trying to flip for our second round game before our first round game. So he's been very patient with me. But after about 3 hours wasting our time on Saturday, we just decided to flip for home and home. And so we're playing at Lake Travis at 6 o'clock.
Now here's the question we have, because I get this pretty regularly, right? How was the actual flip done, right? So you're sitting up in the Austin area, he's down here in the San Antonio area. You're on the phone. How did you guys actually do that? Because that comes up from time to time, and sometimes I'm curious, but usually it's more so for the sake of our listeners.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know exactly how we call it a coin flip. It's not actually a coin flip.
Right.
Each school district or each coach has a kind of directory, or every athletic director does have a directory of every zip code of every school in Texas. And so if you were picking Aledo, Texas, or Aledo High School, sorry, their zip code is 76008. So you take that last number, which is an 8, and that is an even number. So one coach calls the school, or says Aledo High School, and then the next one will say odd or even. And if he says even, he gets the home game. And if he says odd, we're playing at Lake Travis.
Crazy stuff, right? It's not
And so,
nothing like the 1988 Friday Night Lights coin toss, in case you're wondering. Right?
They're at the cafe.
Yeah, at the
yeah,
cafe.
and you actually start overthinking and overanalyzing it all.
Right.
Number one, you try and figure out, all right, how many odd school districts are there? How many even school districts are there in the state of Texas? And then you start analyzing the coach, and you're like, all right, do I
Yeah.
think he's an evens guy or is he an odd guy?
Oh,
And
man.
then you feel really good. You're like, wow, I just analyzed that guy so well when I get the coin toss. And then you lose the coin toss, and you're like, man, what am I doing?
All
How
of
did I
that
not
for
know he was
nothing.
an odds guy?
Yeah, we got Mike, old friend of the show here, Mike Youngblood, chiming in here with the header tails. I know he does a lot of great work for you guys for the Lake Travis community, coach. So big shout out to Mike.
He's incredible. And he does all the he does the highlights, and his voice is incredible. And the girls love it when Texan Live comes out. And so again, I think Mike's one of the best in the business, and we do appreciate him at Lake Travis.
Yeah, he's all right. I think he's all right. Now, he came on the scene with us a few years back. I was actually still in El Paso, believe it or not. And yeah, I know he's come a long way in the soccer world. And because in the beginning, he was just like, hey, help me understand this. So very proud of him. Good to hear from him as well. So now San Antonio Taft, right? We talked about Coach Scott Davis. He's done, I make it no, it's not a secret that I feel it is my opinion that he's done of the 3 years, all the success that San Antonio Taft has had in the last 3 years. This might be his best job that he's done. From what you know about Taft, what are your thoughts going into this area round matchup versus the Raiders?
I mean, we know Taft is obviously a perennial power in Region 4. They're the reigning regional finalist. They were very, very close to going to state. They're very good every single year. They have a very strong culture within that. Coach Davis is obviously an incredible coach because they're competing and winning a district championship almost every single year. I know that they're going to be very bought in. They're going to be very physical. They have some athletes up top that are going to make it dangerous for us. And they're obviously don't give up a lot of goals. So we're expecting it's 2 district champions, and so we're expecting a very, very good game on Tuesday, and we're excited for it again.
Absolutely. Again, we are talking with Coach Will Maloney, the head women's soccer coach of the Lake Travis Cavaliers. Coach, I've loved having you on here. You've always been awesome. We always have great conversations. We have a ton of great conversations offline as well. So love everything you're doing for our sport. Not just, and I gotta say, Lake Travis community, they're very lucky to have you, both you and Coach Bammel. But just what you're doing, what you're about, minus the fanny pack. Big fan of what you do, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, big fan of what you're doing there. So keep up the great work, and thank you again for being here.
Hey, just to let you know, I think it's rubbing off on people because I saw the boys' assistant coach at Lake Travis wearing a satchel the other day.
A satchel. I don't know.
So he's taking it to another level.
Coach, I was gonna ask you: is that like a something like have playoff games? Like you're looking.
No, not really. It's
that
just we go on an away trip every year, and we like to stop at Buc-ee's. I love Buc-ee's, and we always go, and we're going and grabbing things. And I'm texting a million different people about organizing the trips, and it's just easier to have a fanny pack on these away trips. And so I wore one to a game, and Coach Ramos at McKinney Boyd just never let me live it down. And so at that point, I just got to stick to my guns, and I'm wearing that thing every away trip.
Yeah. So we're a few years ago, right? We're at Tasco, the Tasco convention, and somehow this story I just happened to be sitting. Somehow I ended up at the Austin table, right? It was who was it? It was all kinds of number of coaches from Austin. And then along with Coach Ramos from McKinney Boyd, I was at this table, and this story came up, right? That Coach Maloney just shared. This story came up, and I was like, wait, what? So ever since then, it's just taken on a life of its own.
And I wear it to every Tasco just to give Bammel a hard time because he doesn't like being seen with me.
And and Coach Maloney, you've been a great sport about it. Obviously, I'm joking, but still got to have fun with you. And now, just on a serious note, wish you the absolute best in your upcoming match, and as well as going forward. And again, thank you for being here, and please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything we can do to help you out.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks. Have a good one, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. That is Coach Will Maloney, the head women's soccer coach of the Lake Travis Lady Cavs, the Lady Cavaliers. thoughts on what he had to share, Coach?
I think Coach is going to set a new trend. Everyone's going to start wearing fanny packs for the playoff games. As like little superstitious there. I guess I was going to ask us, what superstitious things do you do for playoffs? Do you carry like a lucky coin, or I guess that fanny pack's his and so forth. But
you go double-headed coin or double-tail coin. I don't know. Maybe you flip two at the same time, see if nobody's noticing. I don't know. It's got to be some different rituals, I imagine, along the way. But that is going to do it for the first half of our show, or more than the first half of our show. But don't go anywhere. We got a quick word here from our partners, and then we'll be right back for the last half, where we're going to look at the schedule, the playoff schedule, the remaining schedule for the rest of the way. And then we are going to highlight some of our area round matchups. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick word from our partners. We're thrilled to tell you about our world-class partners, AR Shots, your go-to destination for exceptional photography experiences in San Antonio and across all of Texas. As a seasoned professional and published photographer, Alonso Ramirez specializes in capturing the essence of your most memorable moments. From dynamic team media days and live-action game days to heartwarming family gatherings and elegant senior portraits, he makes every shot count. What sets him apart? His unwavering commitment to deliver the best customer service in the Lone Star State. With major international and professional sports event experience, AR Shots' work speaks for itself. He is dedicated to making your photography experience straightforward and enjoyable. So why settle for ordinary when you can experience extraordinary with AR Shots? Contact him today so he can turn your vision into a stunning reality. Check him out at arshots.net, as well as on X and Instagram at ARShots. Looking to step up your social media marketing game? Well, let us tell you about our great friends at Gipper. Gipper is a way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 4,000 coaches, ADs, SIDs, and club directors who use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part? Anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. If you do have significant design experience, you're going to love this as well, as you are what they call the power user, and this is designed with you in mind as well. And just for being a listener and supporter of the 50/50 podcast, you can receive savings immediately and save 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. Simply visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050. And then there are our great friends at Global Scarves, both Bill and Kyle. They are the top providers of custom knitted scarves, beanies, and other fan merchandise in the U.S. All merch is fully custom with free design services and free shipping on all orders. They do so much more, guys, than just scarves. Blankets, beanies, you name it. It's all designed and all customized to your specifications and needs. You can contact them at info@globalscarves.com to get any free designs or quotes built out for your school, club, or maybe even a supporters group. Simply mention the podcast or use the code #5050pod, and they will be sure to take care of it. All right, and we are back. It is season 5, episode 8 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. Thank you for being with us. We got over 900 plus live listeners. Thank you for all of our listeners. They're listening to us right now in Brownsville, McAllen. They're listening to us out in the great West Texas town of El Paso, as well as Midland, Odessa, Amarillo, Wichita Falls, just to name a few, as well as out in the east part of Texas, out in Tyler. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you guys. But before we continue, we want to go ahead and bring in one of our contributors, one of our team partners here from the 50/50 podcast and Inside Texas High School Soccer. He is also one of 20% of the team bracketology here from earlier this week. Mr. Steve Sanchez. Coach, how are you, buddy?
Hi, doing well. Still recovering from the almost 10 hours of bracketology talk, so mine was a little hazy for a few days, but kind of getting back into the swing of things here. But doing well. Got to go see a couple games this past weekend, and that's always nice. Going and supporting the local soccer and just seeing some good matches as well.
Yeah, and we're going to ask you about those in a minute, so this way you can tell us just briefly a little bit about that, some stuff that stood out to you as well. But your thoughts on, we're going to get your thoughts. You're here to discuss your thoughts on the area round matchup as well, or some area round matchups as well that we're going to go over in a minute. But before we dive into all of that, hey, I do have a question. Did we, Rafa, or did Harry ever mention, did we get an official timestamp on minutes for this year's bracketology? What was it? 9? What were we at? I know they say under 10 hours, but what was it officially? Do we know?
I don't know what it was officially, but I know it was between 9 and 10 hours, and probably closer to 10 than 9.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. I bet you we're probably within 15 minutes of 10 hours. But yeah, pretty interesting. It felt like there were moments where it felt like 10 hours in one day. But and we're gonna go. So, but before we dive into all of that, let's talk about just by district chaos. Right? We saw some crazy. Steve, you covered a few matches. Rafa, you covered a few matches. I was busy coaching in one, and then of course I couldn't cover directly, but everything with all our contributors across the state. Thank you for all of you. But before we dive into looking at the area round, let's discuss some of the by district chaos. What is maybe a couple of matches, 1 or 2 matches that really stood out to you that were kind of like eye openers for any number of reasons across the state?
Rafa, go ahead.
Probably the one that you text me, that Allen game versus Flower Mound. I was getting text messages back and forth on that Friday. That was one of our two state pick 2 state champs that didn't make it. And you mentioned to me like they were up 2-0 and they just couldn't hold the lead. And that was
man. Flower Mound's a different beast.
Yeah. We knew it was going to be a tough match for them. But we thought maybe Ellen just has a little bit more. But, hey, you got to give props to Flower Mound. I mean, they went in with no fear, and they survived, and now they get to play on Tuesday. So,
yeah. Another one, Rafa? You got another one out there besides that one?
There's one actually here in Region 444. Marble Falls knocking off Northeast Early College High School. We knew that was going to be a great game, but I thought maybe Northeast would have a little bit more. Like I said, they had a great season. They split the district title with Austin and Chief. And then, Marble Falls, I know they had a great run last year. I know this year they were kind of, I'm not saying rebuilding, but not as, they weren't, I think they finished 3rd in the district. But hey, kudos to them. They got a big win, and now they get to advance. And they, like I said, they have a good shot. Maybe go a little bit deeper this year.
Steve-O, what about you?
Yeah, no. So we were watching, keeping tabs of Katy Seven Lakes, the boys, defending state champions, and they did pull through. They did get through the by district round, but I mean, Full Shear gave them a heck of a match, taking them all the way to penalty kicks. So that was one that we, that could have been 3 state champions that we didn't pick correctly, because I do believe that we did pick Katy Seven Lakes. So that was one match that we were, keeping our eyes on, and I believe Rafa's friends with the Full Shear coach.
Shout out to Coach Arturo Trevino. Great job, great season. Yeah, he was. He sent me a message afterward. He was just a little disappointed in how, like I said, they gave everything they had. They just missed some opportunities, but nothing to hang your hat on. I mean, to take the state champs to that, to that point,
right.
There's a lot about your program.
Right.
What else, Steve? You got maybe 1 or 2 more you wanted to highlight that really stood out to you that were kind of eye openers?
Yeah, of course, another one that we had, I think Rafa kind of mentioned, the Katy Jordan boys as well, slip into Strake Jesuit. So that was, it wasn't a great big shocker, but it was in the fact that was one of our champions that we had selected to go all the way. But yeah, Strake Jesuit is one of those teams that you really can't take lightly, and I don't think that Katy Jordan did. I just think that it was one of those games that Strake Jesuit just was determined and finished the fight there. I think I did have another one. Another one was Edinburgh North was another one that kind of fell. They were higher on our radar on the boys' side, I should say. They were higher on our radar, and there was another team that did fall, I believe, to a Harlingen school. So that was another one. Let's see here. Yeah, that's
Rafa, while we come back to Steve, any others maybe that might have either slipped your mind or just came back to you just in terms of the wow factor?
I think there was another one. Trying to think. I think in West Texas, uh, San Angelo, Lakeview, the boys falling to Isleta, and Lakeview had been kind of been dominant in their district. Have kind of saw them maybe going 2-3 deep, and they just
Yeah,
fell short.
somebody picked Isleta in that bracketology pool. I can't remember which one of us it was, but
Well,
hey, but
somebody
I gotta
did
give
pick.
you your
Somebody
kudos
did
on
pick.
I gotta
Somebody
give you your
did pick
kudos on
Grapevine.
Central, though. I gotta give you your kudos on San Angelo Central because I mean Eastwood over Eastwood on the ladies' side because that
Yeah.
was a crazy match, right?
And I saw that game on YouTube, and they were down. They were down 2-0, and it didn't look good
Was
for
it 2-0 or
Central.
3-1?
No, yeah, 3-1. It was 3-1. It
Was it
did
3-1?
not look
Yeah.
good. And then finally, in the 20 minutes left, about 20 minutes left, that's when I don't know. Central just turned it up another gear. They ended up going to overtime. It's actually Eastwood had a really good chance. They just had a breakaway. They hit the crossbar, but then Central kind of did something, and then they just lost some. Like I said, Eastwood lost some penalty kicks, and
Yeah, because it sounded like both of them had decent amount of opportunities, even in the extra time periods, right? Both of them. So crazy matches, crazy, just some by district chaos all over the place. As we get going here, Steve, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just going to mention. Sorry, another one that we it kind of shocked us, but a little bit just due to the fact of the name. On the girls' side, Frisco Panther Creek and Maybank beating them on the girls' side in 5A4A. But that was 4A. Yeah, that was another one that kind of
Longview Pine Tree over Palestine Boys.
That
was
was
a shocker in the East Texas.
That was that was an interesting one too. That one got my attention for sure. But you remember, Steve? You remember the excuse me, the Frisco Panther Creek and Maybank one. We kind of went back and forth a little bit on that because, as a credit to Maybank, but also in Frisco Panther Creek, we had seen them a little bit up and down this year, right? So it wasn't a clear slam dunk either. So so kudos to a lot of these teams that, like, we share this all the time, right? Whether our predictions that we select, right, wrong, or indifferent, we go with the information that we have. At the end of the day, it's still a hypothesis, still an educated guess, right? But prove us right, prove us wrong. Doesn't matter. We're happy to see teams advance, even if we get it wrong, right? But that's part of the fun of the process as well. But understand that when we make a pick, that only one team can advance, right? Only team can advance. So there has to be a loser. So never forget that, for the lack of better words. As much as I hate to say that, only one team can advance. So, all right, one thing that we wanted to go over before we dive into some of these area round matchups that we're going to spotlight. We wanted to discuss the remainder of the playoff schedules. Obviously, this Monday, Tuesday, the March 24th, 25th, we have the area round matchup, followed by later in the week, March 27th, that's Thursday, through March 29th, Saturday, regional semifinals. Rafa, take us through this week with your thoughts in terms of what you and I have also been discussing as far as thoughts on weather impact on these two rounds.
I know we were texting earlier. I guess the big impact for this Tuesday is going to be the heat. I think it's going to be close to the upper 90s. So make sure you drink your Pedialyte and drink your pickle juice, because it's going to be a factor. And if you're wearing white, you're the away team. Hey, you're lucky. You get to see it. It's going to be an advantage there. And also with the turf too. I think playing on turf with the heat does wear you out. And it actually increases the temperature on the field. And so if that could be a big factor, especially if you're going into a game that ends up tied and going to extra time, and even the penalty kicks, who's gonna be in the best conditions. And then regional semifinals could also be affected. I think we're expecting heavy rain. I think Thursday into Friday.
Correct.
So maybe some of the teams may push back on playing Thursdays and play instead of playing maybe Fridays, or maybe even Saturdays, because I think Saturday was going to a lot of the weather's already going to be kind of pushing out. So
Yeah.
So weather's now, I think this week weather is going to kind of be a factor a bit.
Correct.
The heat and the wet weather.
Yeah.
So and it's going to determine where they play at too, and what date and time.
Right. And obviously Texas is Texas is a large state, so certain portions of the state may be impacted more than others. But yeah, it could be one of those of you may have some extended recovery on the front end with not as much recovery on the back end if you prefer to play on a Saturday, but knowing full well that you're going to get the game in better conditions, right? So and that's always a big factor as well. So that takes us through this week, both area and regional semifinals. And then this is where we start to see the big, this week really, but after this week is where we see the big shift in this year's version of the state playoffs, right? Because gone is the regional quarterfinal round after area. And then now we no longer see a traditional regional tournament, right? So from the regional semifinal, there's a quick turnaround to March 31st, April 1st for the regional finals, but it's not next day, which is crucial, right? So we look at the following week, both regional finals, March 31st through April 1st, and state semifinals, April 3rd through the 5th. Rafa and Steve, take us through those on your thoughts.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that it's definitely a change, as we all know, not having the back-to-back games as far as the regional semifinal and regional finals. So that's going to be a benefit. And then we mentioned it before that there's going to be a little bit cleaner, soccer. It's not just, the back-to-back just really, it's tough on teams just due to the fact that, playing a game, I think it usually takes 48 to 72 hours for the body to kind of recover from one match. So to have to do it in two matches, and then not only that, but having to do it against top-notch talent across the state, that's extremely difficult. So that's speaking for the regionals and pretty similar to the state. I think, there are some 4A teams that in the past would have back-to-back, but there's also some of the 4As where they actually get a little bit of a recovery, like a day to recover, and they would be playing typically like on a Thursday and then maybe again on a Saturday, or I could be wrong, it could be a Wednesday to a Friday or something like that. But so those changes that the UIL implemented this year will be a little bit better. I think that we all kind of agree that that's a little bit better. But yeah, so those are some of the changes that we've seen from years past into this year.
All right, and then that takes us into the final weekend of our season. That'll be, remember, this is now again no traditional state tournament, just like regional. There is no state semifinal and final at Georgetown. It is just the finals. So we will see roughly more or less the same amount of games, but they're all strictly champions, just state finals. Yeah. And we lose one day. So it's it is no longer Wednesday through Saturday. It is now Thursday through Saturday, April 10th through the 12th. And gentlemen, take us through your thoughts on logistics, everything, what it will look like. What do you anticipate for our final weekend of the season in Georgetown?
I think the one big factor, just kind of a little back to the regional final, just the logistics wise, like you mentioned last year, we had two El Paso area teams play a regional final up near the Dallas area. So you're not going to see that this year. I think the state semifinal may be the one logistically where you might see the longest travel out of most of these games, especially like with Region 1 and Region 2. I'll give you an example. Let's say if St. Eli wins and they play a team from East Texas, that's going to be a distance for both teams to play a state semifinal, especially on a Tuesday. And so but the thing is, at least they're not playing back to back like they normally do, like the last year's format. And also, you're playing one less game because you don't have a regional quarterfinal too, so you're a little bit more fresher too. And then the state finals, like I said, it's just one game, and then you guys said you got close to 5-6 days, or even up to a week to prepare for your opponent. Years past, you had to do your scouting, you had to stay there, get your scouting really quick, and make a game plan right away. And then you had a quick turnaround, especially if you played an overtime game or you haven't fully rested yet. It took it took a toll on you, and it kind of there were some games that kind of got out of hand because of that. So here you're going to be well rested, organized game plan, ready to go, and focus. And like I said, plus the travel too. Like I said, you'll be in, you're not going to be away from home for too many days. So I think it's going to be a lot better state championship games than the years past.
Yeah, we hope that's the plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Steve, you got anything else to add to that?
I want to say that there was, a couple days in the last few years with 5 games. I could be wrong, but now each game, each day is going to be just 4 games each day, starting at 11. So those times are going to be for the finals anyway. It's going to be 11 a.m. Kickoff will be the first game of the day.
They'll tackle a classification a day, essentially, right?
Right. And so it'll be, Thursday will be 4A. The 10th will be 4A. Friday the 11th will be 5A. And Saturday will be the 12th will be 6A. And like I was saying, that those kickoff times will be 11 a.m., 1:30 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6:30 p.m. But of course, those can always change just due to previous games going to overtime, penalty kicks that can delay kickoffs. So, but these are, for the most part, good kickoff times, but I would still try to, be cognizant of previous finals. Of course, they're all finals this year, so take into consideration that teams want to celebrate, on the field, this and that. So, that being said, if you are running late to one of your match, your final, don't sweat it, because chances are it might be pushed back a little bit. I've seen in years past where a 6:30 kickoff, kind of winds up kicking off at 8 o'clock, just due to the fact that, a lot of games got delayed just due to the fact overtime and such. So, don't stress about it too much. I mean, I'm sure all 12, or I should say 24 teams that are attending those matches this year are excited to be there. But, just keep that in mind that, you might not, your match might not start at the assigned time based upon, what usually happens out there.
Yeah. And
then, just the big change is that, usually Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we see a lot of state semifinal matches. And then, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we see some of those matches are finals. Whereas this year, it's all state finals this year. So that's, a big change. And it's just basically, show up to Georgetown, play a game, and, either get a trophy or, get second place medal. So, but it's changes.
And what should be, Rafa, here's our annual, the annual trip pilgrimage to New Mexico, right? The UIL Texas State playoffs in New Mexico, right? Will feature El Paso Americas and Lubbock Monterey, Tuesday, March 25th, 2 p.m. in Artesia, New Mexico. So always great, right? As big shout out to Yellow City Soccer for putting that out there. Mac Chase Complex in Artesia, New Mexico. You'll have an El Paso squad and a Lubbock squad meeting in the Texas State playoffs in another state. That's always pretty cool. I love that.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on. We're going to go ahead. We're going to highlight our area round spotlight here. We're going to start with the girls here. So we're going to go through 4A, 5A, and 6A before we move on to the boys. So Rafa, take us through these here. Your thoughts, 2 that you've highlighted. Both we will highlight 2 matches in each classification, both Division 1, Division 2. Rafa, take it away.
So I kind of combed down the brackets to see who survived and the key matchups in this area round. So I came up with these two games really kind of caught my eye. First one for Division 1, Bay City versus Salado. They've had some history. They've faced each other in the past, and Salado's kind of had the best of Bay City. Is this the year that maybe Bay City returns the favor to Salado? And like I said, I've seen the Salado team. They've been on the tear. Like I said, they're to me, I think they're one of the favorites that could possibly get to Georgetown in early April. So, but should be a dynamite game. And then, probably one of the best games there in West Texas is going to be San Eli versus Canyon Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this is going to be a test. I think out of this, like you mentioned in bracketology, whoever wins this game is probably is going to end up going to the regional final. and maybe even beyond. So it's two heavy West Texas heavyweights. It's gonna, like I said, from the Panhandle and also from El Paso, they're going to go at it, and that's going to be a fun game to watch.
So you got Bay City, right? You got Bay City here versus the Blitzkrieg. What are your thoughts on these two, your picks? So this is another opportunity to maybe lean one direction or another, separate from bracketology. Thoughts on here?
I mean, what are you gonna say about the Blitzkrieg? You know, have not seen anybody stop them. You know, since maybe preseason. You know, they, like I said, Silo has some, but like I said, they played some real tough competition. That's, you know, some higher division teams. But if Bay City can get a game plan, they can slow them down and get a lead early on, and just kind of keep the pressure on them. I mean, they have a chance. You know, sometimes you know you can be firing all cylinders and you lay an egg the next game, and we've seen it happen. So, like I said, I think that's the game plan the Bay City is going to do, is finding a way to slow them down, keep the score low, and try to get a lead early on to kind of set the pace. You know, but like I said, I think it's just maybe had just too much firepower. The Sanelli and Canyon Randall game, that's going to be. I can see that one going maybe into extra time, maybe PKs. It's going to be a back and forth game. I think whoever can establish their system of play on each other, I think that's who's going to end up winning the game. I think from what Yellow City Soccer mentioned about Canyon Randall, I think they're going to have I think they'll have a little slight edge over St. Ellie. Like I said, Canyon Randall's just kind of been on a tear. And like I said, I think they're really focused on getting as far as they can into the, representing the panel for Region 1, and I think have a good shot to win it.
Steve-O, thoughts on these before we move on?
Yeah, no, it's interesting how Bay City has got a little blitzkrieg of themselves. Some of the results that they've put together over the years as well. But I do understand, Salado, different kind of monster here, especially getting all the way to state and just coming up short to Bernie last year. But yeah, it's interesting to see what coaches do and how they kind of plan for this. Do you want to sit back and just kind of bunker down, or is the best defense a good offense? So the matchup kind of it depends on the coach's kind of mentality and philosophy. So that's what I kind of think about when I see this Bay City versus Salado matchup. But don't sleep on Bay City for sure, just due to the fact that they can put some goals on opponents as well. And then for San Eli and Canyon Randall, I think that Rafa kind of covered it. It's that one's going to be one of those matches where that can kind of determine it is going to determine a big part of who gets out of Region 1. So but yeah, no, these are two great matchups that Rafa picked out for 4A girls for D1 and 2.
Yeah, and I am being told in my ear, for the record, that Rafa said there can only be one blitzkrieg. Just FYI, there cannot be two, according to him. So.
Well, we'll find out on Monday or Tuesday if there is.
Yeah, we will.
Right?
Yeah, we will. Yeah. All right, so we move on. We move on to the 5A girls here. So, Rafa, we got two great matchups. One that I'm personally looking forward to here in El Paso versus Amarillo in D1, as well as in D2, Gregory Portland versus McAllen Memorial. McAllen Memorial, right? Last year kind of made a big splash, had a great squad that kind of for lack of better words, kind of came out of nowhere, got a lot of people by surprise. And a lot of people thought we're going to go very deep, maybe to run the state. And bless you. And this year sounds like maybe the actual, like they may be even better, more primed for a deep run this year. So, Rafa, take us through these. Take us your thoughts on both of these great matchups.
Well, El Paso versus Amarillo is another matchup like San Eli and Randall. You got your Del Paso versus Panhandle. And like I mentioned, like Yellow City Soccer, shout out to them. This is going to be another great match. Like I mentioned, he mentioned that Amarillo's got a great shot at representing Division 1, 5A Division 1. Is this their year that they go deep and win it? But El Paso, like I said, they've had a great squad year too as well, and they're ready to try to can they make that next step? And this is the game right here. This is probably one of the biggest games for them if they want to kind of really establish themselves. Is getting a win against Amarillo, and then who knows from there beyond what they can do, and then maybe open the door to get to the regional final. And that's, like I said, it's just going to be a very evenly matched game. So if you're out there, make sure to check it out. And then Coastal Bend Valley area, like I said, Gregory Portland's kind of flew under the radar this year. They've had a great season, and McAllen Memorial, like I said, they won their district the last couple of years. They've kind of cruised there, even though they fell short last year to, I think it was Leander Rouse. And this is a test for them. Can they get by Gregory Portland? And Gregory Portland's not going to roll over. This game could go into, like I mentioned, in extra time too as well. And like I said, out of this, whoever wins this game is going to have they're going to have another tough matchup in round 3. So. But like I said, a good preparation for that. But it's gonna, like I said, it's one of the key games there, especially in that Coastal Bend Valley area to see. And it's just like I said, it's you got to beat the best. And like I mentioned before, then this is what you see here. You got to beat the best teams in order to get to Georgetown.
Yeah, I think this El Paso. I think I mentioned it during bracketology. At least I thought I did when we discussed this. I think this El Paso Tiger squad, Amarillo squad. I think the winner of this one really sets up. They got to get through each other, and whoever can get through this could be primed for potentially at least a regional final run. The way the bracket was kind of set up, but they got to get past this tremendous area round pairing first. So, yeah, I think could be an interesting one. I think this one was slated. I forget my time. I think 2 p.m. and they're in Midland, Ostown Stadium, I believe. I might be off on that, but the time, at least the time. But I thought it was a 2 p.m. kickoff. But and then, yeah, I mean, I hit on. I agree with you. Gregory Portland somehow, some way, just not being slept on, but just kind of very methodical, having a very great season. And quietly just under the radar, right? I think there's, in my mind, there's oftentimes a difference between a team being slept on and just kind of under the radar versus a McAllen Memorial squad that's looking to make more history. So we shall see what prevails there as well. So, Steve, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no. So another matchup with El Paso versus Panhandle kind of teams and that West Texas matchups, which are kind of becoming pretty interesting on the girls' side, just due to the fact that 10 years ago, maybe even longer than that, but even 10 years ago or so, these weren't as intriguing. You kind of just saw results that kind of were one-sided. But now you're starting to see some sort of kind of like a rivalry between these two regions of the state. So that's pretty cool, especially considering, up there in the Panhandle area, you're starting to see some teams like you've got it here illustrated here with Amarillo, 18-1-2 record. Of course, I'm going based off of what I'm seeing on the UIL website, and El Paso here at 18-2-1. So, but yeah, no, it's really neat to see, the Panhandle kind of, stepping up their game and really fighting hard to compete with El Paso and maybe even, DFW here in Region 1. And then, Gregory Portland, McAllen, McAllen Memorial, that should be another great match. McAllen Memorial's, one of those teams that we've kind of seen climb in the brackets more and more each and every year, and they kind of come back even more powerful the next year. And but Gregory Portland is no slouch. We've seen their name there year in and year out, and like you mentioned, kind of under the radar, but not surprised to see them here, and should be another great match for 5A girls.
Yeah, dynamite matchups. Rafa, anything else to hit on? I think we've covered everything on this group before we move on.
No, just like I said, I was going to say, just keep an eye on that Gregory Portland team, because those 2 losses were against Leander Rouse.
Right.
But they had, like I said, they gave them all that they can handle. I think this is a team, like you mentioned, if they get by this, they could cause some problems in that next round.
Yeah, I think it should be for a fascinating matchup, right? Styles, so much of that determines a lot. It's the old fighter in me, right? Styles make matchups. So yeah,
Yeah,
for
the
two
records here
great-
is that I didn't mention for Gregory Portland. Their last I saw is 20-2 record
Mhm.
versus McAllen Memorial 22-3. Of course, that may have changed due to first round by district wins.
And a big shout out again to Coach Kevin Gomez, I should say, of Yellow City Soccer, who highlighted the El Paso Amarillo matchup will take place in Midland at 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday, March 25th. All right, so we move on to 6A girls. Rafa, so we got two great ones here that you selected, both in Summer Creek versus squad that I've been very big on all year in Ridge Point, and then of course as well as out in the Plains, Wolfforth Friendship, and the mighty South Lake Carroll. Take us through both of these, Rafa.
Yeah, Summer Creek versus Ridgepoint. That's going to be one heck of a game for the Houston area. Ridgepoint, like I said, they've been dominant the last few years, but Summer Creek's really established themselves, really turned into a great program. A win versus Ridgepoint would really be a notch for them and to take that next step. But they're gonna have their hands full. This Ridgepoint team, like I mentioned, they barely got into the RPIs late. But like I said, they've been consistent. They're a consistent team, and only 2 losses. And this is, like I said, this is gonna be one great game. But I think the experience of Ridgepoint, could be the factor for them winning this game against Summer Creek. So it's, like I said, it's gonna be a good back and forth game. And then the other one, another kind of Dallas versus Panhandle matchup. Wolfforth Friendship's been, one of the dominant teams in the Panhandle the last few years. But when they get to the second round, it's kind of been the stopping point for them. And they got one of the biggest powerhouses in the Dallas area, which is the Salt Lake Carroll. Can they take? Like I said, this is about taking the next step. If they can win this game, this could open the floodgates for them and maybe even raise the confidence for this program to go, knowing that if they can beat a program like South Lake Carroll, they can take on anybody, and maybe even be one of the first teams from the Panhandle to represent Region 1 for 6A. So
yeah,
like I said, two great games.
Steve-O, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so for 6A girls, we got Summer Creek here at 19-3-1 and Ridgepoint at 21-2. So a big battle in Region 3. Last year, I will say that Ridgepoint did lose in the second round to Houston Memorial. So and before that, they had made some really deep runs. So other than last year, I think Ridgepoint is going to be kind of back on track. And as for Summer Creek, they're another team that's usually in the mix, for Region 3. So this is going to be a really good matchup here. And then as for Wolfforth Friendship versus South Lake Carroll, so Wolfforth Friendship, last year had some, a really good run in Region 1. So they beat the likes of Keller, Byron Nelson, and they lost to that team that caught that knocked off Allen, which was that Louisville Marcus team. So that's who Wolfforth Friendship lost to in the regional semifinals, 1-0. So that's a pretty good resume. And South Lake Carroll Dragons, we know their resume. We know that they're, always making those deep runs each and every year with a state title, a couple of years back. So this is going to be another huge battle to determine who's going to, be taking Region 1. And I believe it's you got it posted here for Division 2. So so Wolfforth Friendship so far this year, their record is 17-3, and we've got South Lake Carroll at 21-2.
Yeah, some great. Keep in mind, folks, this is just area. These are just area round matchups that we're talking about here too. So, so great stuff. I think in these two, give me Ridgepoint. I'll just a little bit more than Summer. These are gonna be great matchups, but I think they have what it takes to separate themselves from Summer Creek. And I've been big on Ridgepoint all year. And then, of course, Wilforth Friendship, South Lake Carroll. How will these matchups? How will they match up? But I think South Lake Carroll I think too much firepower here. And big shout out to our friend Ken Murphy in here talking about South Lake Carroll has too much offensive power. Eventual state champions after Camden Fuller rejoined the team a few weeks ago. We shall see. All right, we move on and that's going to do it for the girls. And we move on to the boys, starting with our 4A boys here. Rafa, so we got two great groups here, and both first in D1. Sulphur Springs versus Kilgore should be a dynamite matchup, and then El Campo versus Maynard Newtek, the Maynard Newtek that we talked a lot about during bracketology. So take us through both of these, Rafa.
Well, you have a really good East Texas showdown between Sulphur Springs and Kilgore. Some two teams that are kind of very familiar with each other. Year in, year out, you always hear about them, making deep playoff runs, and they happen to face in the second round this year, and this has a lot of implications to see, who ends up becoming the representative, for Region 2, and it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a back and forth game. Kilgore, like I said, they've won the region. Sulphur Springs hasn't gone there yet, but this could be the game that they take that next step forward. And then the second game for Division 2, I'll call this the new kids on the block. El Campo and Maynard Newtek. These are some teams that
please do not start singing, Steve. Thank you.
TB.
So these two teams, like I said, they're starting to establish themselves. El Campo's had a great season. Same thing with Maynard Newtek, and I think even Harry mentioned on the text yesterday about. I think his son AJ had a club game yesterday. There were some kids from the Maynard Newtek that played for Maynard Newtek, and so you can tell that they're really getting serious about that program there. And like I said, this is kind of uncharted waters for these two teams. Can they make, like I said, taking the next step is the biggest thing for your program, and this isn't. I think past this game could be a great opportunity for one of these two teams.
Yeah. Steve, thoughts?
Yeah, we got Sulphur Springs coming in around 20 wins, 6 losses, and 1 tie. And we've got the defending, Region 2 champions for 4A, Kilgore, coming in at 19-3-1. So this is going to be, a huge battle to determine who's going to come out of this region for Region 2 for 4A. So yeah. It is almost like a coin flip, even though it's not really a coin flip, right? Apparently, from what we heard Coach Maloney say earlier, or Mahoney. But yeah, so no, this is going to be a true test for both teams to get out of this area round. But this is kind of the cool thing about the new format and taking a round out. And to having 2 state champions. So this is, there's pros and cons to it, but this is one of the pros is getting these matchups early in the tournament. So, but yeah, and then the new kids on the block, as Rafa said, and El Campo, we've got them at 16-5-2, and Maynard Newtek at 22-3. Yeah, these are two teams that we haven't really, we don't see them year in and year out just due to the fact that I believe they're Maynard Newtek is probably more of a newer school, and I'm not too sure about El Campo, but it's good to see these kind of teams kind of establish some sort of pedigree. But yeah, so yesterday I was that was me who had sent the text regarding AJ. He was playing against for his club team against Pflugerville FC, and they had some players from this Maynard Newtek High School as well as players from Pflugerville Connolly, and those boys can play. So I definitely give probably, in my opinion, the edge if we were making picks here to Maynard Newtek here in that matchup. But yeah, no, this is great to see some new faces in the brackets as far as getting to advancing to the regional semifinal.
Yeah, and that's one thing that was mentioned. I was having this conversation with an athletic trainer earlier in the week, this past week, who was covering the boys and girls basketball state championships right here in San Antonio. And he was talking about one of the coolest things to see in this new format is how many teams were there for the first time, right? That maybe just could not break through before for a number of reasons. So I think that'll continue to follow suit in our sport as well in soccer here. So as we progress into regional finals, state semifinals, and then probably in the state finals, we will see some of those in there. Those NKOTBs, right? New Kids on the Block, right? I can't believe I just said that. But yeah, that'll be pretty cool to watch. So, all right, we move on to 5A boys. And the big one here in our neck of the woods here is Piper and San Antonio Southwest, which will take place. We'll get into that in a minute. And then, of course, El Cucuy is back, strikes once again. Frisco Wakeland versus Jacksonville, two just absolute dynamite matchups. Rafa, go ahead, take us through these, and please let us know when these are taking place as well.
So I know with the Piper and San Antonio Southwest, that's actually going to be in my backyard, not even a mile away here, up here at Ferris Stadium. I think according to Chief, he sent me, shout out to Chief out there. He sent me a message. I believe it's going to be, at 7:00. So you have a chance to make sure you go to Ferris Stadium. This is going to be a great game. This is probably, honestly, this game should have been at Toyota Field. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. This is just how big this game is. I think we would have had a big crowd there, but this is going to be rocking, and it's going to be a big. It's going to be an epic game. I know Southwest
Rafa is on the record. Rafa is on the record saying he's willing to donate $15,000 of his own money, all right, to make sure that this match happens in Toyota Field. So we'll see if we can make it happen, Rafa. We'll see if we can make it happen.
Unless Toyota wants to sponsor it, they can do that. But nice little tax write-off for them. But Southwest, like I said, they're the favorite. They're the favorite going in. Very talented squad, very talented bench. It's probably one of their deepest teams going into the playoffs. Like I said, they had not much of a problem in the first game. In their first game, took care of business against Steve's alma mater, Jeff. Sorry about that, Steve, on that one.
7-0 demolishing.
Yeah. And then Piper was in a dogfight with Liberty Hill, actually with Lockhart, Lockhart, that's that was a I mentioned, but the girls played Liberty Hill, but the boys that got Lockhart, they had all they can handle from Lockhart. But like I said, those are the type of games you're going to be ready for, and Southwest cannot sleep on Piper, and they just can't go showing up. We have this, or they have faced each other in the preseason, but that's preseason. This is a whole. When you get to this point, it's win or lose, win or lose, or go home. And their Pepper's not going to roll over. They're going to give everything they got against. The pressure is on Southwest, and that could be a heavy factor on you. With the high expectations that they've had all season. Their slogan was "State or Bust." And can they live up to that? And Piper, going into this game, no pressure at all. They know what the game is about. They know what they need to do, and if they can get their objective done, they'll advance. And maybe this will propel them to go to, possibly get to that regional final and maybe even state. So it's going to be a great game. And then the second game, you have your East Texas Dallas area matchup. What can you say about the Cucuy? They're just, they're back on the mission. I'm sure they've already made reservations at Georgetown, like they do every year. But they have a tough task against Jacksonville. Jacksonville team has had a really excellent season, and actually, I think the girls are also playing. So it's kind of, I don't know if they're doing a doubleheader, but the girls, I know they're facing Jacksonville too. Right. But this is gonna be a test for the Wakeland boys. A win for Jacksonville will be huge for their program. You could be one of the few teams that say, "Hey, we're the ones that knocked off Wakeland," out of the playoffs, and there's very few that can brag about that. So, look what Midlothian did last year. And Coach, you mentioned about Bel Air, they did it a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's a rare fraternity as far as getting a win in the playoffs versus Wakeland. So it's, like I said, it's going to be a great game. But I think Wakeland, like I said, they're going to be favored for this one. And like I said, we'll see how the results after Tuesday.
Yeah. Steve, anything to add to this?
Yeah, absolutely. Just due to the fact that last Tuesday we had, our bracketology show. If you haven't checked it out, you can definitely hit. I think it was on the SA Soccer Roundtable, and it was for the 5A. We had a pretty good little debate for Piper and Southwest. I know I went on the record that night, picking Piper. And when I went to bed that night, I was kind of like, yeah, Piper. And then I woke up the next morning, and I was like, damn, Southwest has a really good team too. And that's why we debated so long, just due to the fact that it's like, which of these teams is going to advance? And I mean, we'll find out, in a couple days. But yeah, and then the next day I wake up and I'm like, yeah, Piper. And then the next day Southwest, yeah. So I mean, for it to play out to fruition, which we kind of knew once the brackets were set, that these two teams were gonna face off, and not only that, but in the second round, which is kind of early, but that's what this new format leaves us. So that's the pro of it. So yeah, this is going to be a dynamite match, and whether you're a fan of boys soccer, girls soccer, this is going to be an epic match. And 7 p.m.
Are you telling us that you're a flip flopper here? Or what? Or you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm a
every day you have a new pick.
It's
Steve,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. This one is it could be. It's a roll of the dice. They match. I think it's just going to be a great matchup. Absolutely.
Steve, I was going to ask you this: is like, who do you think has the biggest pressure in this game?
Oh, you.
I think we all know that one,
right?
Yeah, we all know that one.
It's going to be the kids in green, Southwest, I should say. But yeah, I think the Dragons, just due to the fact that one, we've seen them knocking on State's door for the past 4 or 5 years, if not even longer. Piper's new to the scene. They're still trying to establish themselves as a perennial powerhouse here in 5A, and who knows, maybe in a couple years up in 6A. But right now, there's really not a lot of pressure on them. It's pretty much show up, play your game. They don't have a slogan, state or bust. But those Southwest players are phenomenal. They don't have a bad line. They don't have really any weakness. So and that's why they've kind of categorized themselves as the elite 5A school here in the San Antonio area. But Piper, I mean, they've got some good lines as well. They've got a solid keeper. They've got a solid striker. He's huge, and he just attacks like just toughness, grit and size and speed and finesse, everything. So, the back line on Southwest really has to get their sleep on Monday night and prepare for this match. The second match, I'll be honest, it's Cocoy. It's against a Jacksonville team that, yes, very good record at 16-2-3. El Cocoy 18-1-2. To me, I think Hector the other night, you got to. What is your slogan? You got to show up. Your boxing slogan.
You got to take it from the champ, man. You got to, or someone in this case. Yeah, they're not the reigning, they're not the defending champion, right? But in terms of El Cucu is in a different category, right? So they just experience the greatest thing. Excuse me, the best thing in my opinion about Wakeland, right? Why I'm so big on them and how I kind of came to that nickname was because they're a machine. They're methodical. Their program is just week in and week out, match after match, season after season, right? It's not a reload. It's not a rebuild. It's just they're methodical, and exactly what you're going to get from them, top to bottom. Very little drop off beyond their starters. They're well coached, and it's just the system, the culture, everything. I could tell if you didn't tell me who was playing on, and I'm watching film, I could probably tell within about 5 minutes, maybe 10, who that is, right? In terms of just how they play, how they warm up, how they go about their business, just very almost very professional, right? For lack of better words. So, but in this case, Jacksonville, but like I said, does this set up where Jacksonville kind of delivers a stunner, right? Because maybe Wakeland doesn't entirely know what to expect from them, right? So yeah, I think this will be an interesting one, but I think in the end, too much Wakeland.
Yeah, I agree. Too much Wakeland, but that being said, I mean, who is it? Chris Berman on ESPN. That's why they play the game, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, but Wakeland's one of those teams that's like, well, they won the championship last year, right? And it's like, no, they actually, but that's one of those teams that it's like you always think that they're the previous champion just due to the fact that they're always there. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're one of those teams where there's just kind of an aura about them when you see their name on the bracket, and
Aura. You talking about my guy at McNeese State there? Aura. Oh,
that's
sorry.
right.
I had to drop that there. Awesome, great stuff though. Yeah, no, I agree. Two great matchups too, but for our listeners outside of the San Antonio area, this Piper San Antonio Southwest 5A boys area round matchup is getting a lot of buzz. So. All right, that does it for our 5A boys, and we got one more to go, our final one here in two great matchups again selected by Rafa in the Woodlands versus Bridgeland at the D1 level. And then at the D2 bracket, we have College Park and Tomball Memorial. Rafa, go ahead, dive into these two.
Well, you have two teams in the same district being featured in this with the Woodlands and College Park. Like I said, these are to me, these were the kind of like the very interesting matchups. Woodlands, what can you say, the traditions that they have, being one of the superpowers there in Region 3. Bridgeland has really established themselves. I know the girls get a lot of press with it, but the boys have done a great job too. Then this, like I said, this is going to be a very epic game down in the Houston area. This can go either way, and I think out of this, is this one of these two teams that can contend against Katy Seven Lakes and take it away from them, represent Region 3? We'll see. And then in Region 2, it's a Division 2, you got College Park versus a very good and solid Tomball Memorial team. And like I said, ever since the schools opened up, they've really kind of established themselves, and they're building a great, they've built, like I said, starting to build a really great soccer program there too. Like I said, I think they're very similar as far as the players that they have, and I'm sure they're all familiar with it. Like I said, all four probably all familiar because they're probably all play club together or against each other, so they know what to expect. So like I said, these two games are going to be two big battles. But like I said, College Parks, like I said, they had an excellent season last year. Can they kind of do it again this year? But like I said, they have a tough task going against this Tomball Memorial team.
And Steve, any follow-up stuff to that as we wrap up here with our final 6A boys group here, area round spotlight between the Woodlands and Bridgeland and College Park and Tomball Memorial?
Sure. So the Woodlands, their record is 12-5-4, and we've got Bridgeland at 15-3-4. And like Rafa mentioned, it's interesting to have two of the Woodland schools on here with the Woodlands and College Park. But also to see, Bridgeland on the boys' side, it's like Rafa mentioned, it's usually the girls that have been kind of getting all the recognition, but it's good to see, Bridgeland, boys starting to get hot here as well. And the other cool thing I know about Bridgeland is they got a, pretty good sized campus, and they've got, a couple soccer fields that I've seen out there. I was like, man, that's a high school campus. That place is huge. I think when I was on the toll road back in November and the greater Houston area. So, and they had a lot of soccer goals out there. So, it's really cool to see the that school growing and the sport growing out there. And then the Woodlands, I do remember the Woodlands, they did make a pretty good run last year. They did get eliminated to Duncanville in the regional semifinal off of that last second, bicycle kick. So, but yeah, they're hopefully it's, this is kind of like a redemption year for them to try to get back, make that run deep and possibly get a ticket to Georgetown. And then as far as, College Park and Tomball, College Park being from the Woodlands area, they're another school that's, we've kind of seen them the last few years started to make deeper runs. And then as far as Tomball Memorial, Tomball's had some good teams, so, you got Tomball High School there. as well as Memorial. And, on the boys and girls side, that's a region of Houston that, they play some good soccer out there. So these are some interesting matchups. We got College Park at 17-3-2 and Tomball Memorial at 14-3-4. So, these should be big games to kind of determine who's going to be coming out of this region.
And a big shout out to our one of our big supporters in Chief, right? Chief out of the Southwest, San Antonio Southwest community, talking about it's going to be an epic match, and 2-0 come out and watch the beautiful game. It's going to be an amazing game. Chief, also, hey, as I mentioned to you earlier, hey, I knew there was something that made you special, talking about your kids being Mac grads. So, yeah, awesome stuff. That is going to do it. So, big shout out to our guests today, and both Jason Atkins, the head women's soccer coach of the Smithson Valley Rangers, as well as Coach Will Maloney, the head women's soccer coach of the Austin Lake Travis Cavaliers, the Lady Cavs, as well as Steve Sanchez being able to jump in here and join us towards the end. Really appreciate you guys. As we wrap up here, we are now in officially Joe Rogan territory, going over 2 hours. We have over 1,300 strong live listeners across the state and beyond. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for what you're doing. We're being listened to outside of the state of Texas, which is really awesome. Love that. So thank you for all of you for your support, your listen. Tell somebody. Make sure you share that and like, rate, subscribe, join. You can follow us on Twitter X, as we call it, Twix, at 50_50 podcast. On Instagram, we are actually live on Instagram Live, IG Live right now. So if you're listening to us there, thank you for that. But you can find us on Instagram at 50_50 podcast. And then our channel on YouTube, which we're really trying to grow, make an effort to trying to hit 500 subscribers on that one, guys. So, and again, why I mentioned that one, why we've been pushing that one so much is because we have so many people that listen to the show, and then they'll ask us, they'll say, hey, when's your next show? They think they're subscribed, and they're actually not subscribed on YouTube. So go on there, make sure you subscribe. Like, rate, subscribe, as well as hit that live notification bell, and you won't miss a thing that we do, because 99.9% of everything we do is live. So, and you can find us on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. And then, of course, the traditional audio podcast form, you can get that on whatever your preferred podcast platform may be. All right, go on there, like, rate, subscribe as well. Give us a rating on there. That always helps to push us to the forefront. And again, if you think we're doing a great job, you think we're doing good, go on there, tell us. And then if you think we stink, all right, send all of those complaints to Rafa's way. He's in charge of our complaint department. All right, we say that every time, but no, just kidding. Thank you guys again for everything. As we start to wrap up here with our final thoughts and stoppage time, we'll start with Steve-O. Steve-O, any final thoughts, messages, anything maybe, or even from the games that you had to see this past week?
Yeah, no, I got to see some good match. It started out on Thursday with the Brandeis girls and O'Connor girls. So that was a really close match. And those for those that are not from San Antonio area, they're kind of rival schools, although they're in different districts, but they're probably within a mile or two of one another. So, that was a really good match over at Ferris with O'Connor getting the win, I think on the girls and the boys side as well. And then I jumped over to Gustafson to the Northside Fields to go see Reagan versus Taft. And that was probably the match of the weekend for me, just due to the fact that one was going all the way down to the final seconds where Reagan was winning 2-1. And with 38 seconds, Taft was awarded a penalty kick and, finished that. Converted that penalty kick and took it to extra time, and wound up going to penalty kick shootout. And that was just, up and down. Reagan was up, then, Taft came back, and Taft's goalkeeper, Rafa spoke about earlier, Madison, wound up taking the kick in the fifth round when it was leveled at 2-2. So the goalkeeper took the kick, converted it, and then Reagan didn't convert the last one. So, that was pretty neat to see that outcome, just due to the fact that, both teams just gave it all. And, it was just a really, really special night for, the North Side district, and Taft, getting the dub there. And then Friday night was over at Ferris and got to see a couple more games with Madison boys getting a win over Harlan in overtime, late overtime finish there, and then Johnson getting the win after being down 2-0 over Warren on the boys' side for 6A as well. So, really good matches over the weekend, I should say, and looking forward to Piper and Southwest. I'll be in attendance there. Trying to see what other matches is there anything going on tomorrow that y'all are aware of on Monday?
Not that I've seen anything yet. I think mostly they're going to be on Tuesdays, I believe.
Yeah.
I've seen one. I just can't remember who it was, but I've definitely seen one.
They might be out of town, I believe.
Yeah, it was not in town. It was not in town. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And then just a shout out to both coaches that were interviewed. Coach Atkins, I saw him at State a couple years ago. Really good guy. Big supporter of the show, as well as Coach Maloney. Shout out to him because I too am a fanny pack guy. Look at Hector's face.
I'm gonna turn off your mic now.
That being said, I'm not sure how he wears it. I wear mine kind of like a satchel, across here.
I didn't even know there was more than one way. Where this quickly spiraling.
Did
you wear a fanny pack when we were with Texans?
When we were with Texans? No.
Yeah. No.
I
don't remember.
I wear mine across the chest here, and just due to the fact that in the summers when I'm carrying my keys and my wallet and my phone, there's a little short slippage there, so I decided the best option for me was just to go ahead and get a fanny pack and wear it across the chest here, and got my 3 little different pockets and such. So I'm with you, Coach Maloney. So we give it right back to Hector here.
Yeah, we apologize for that horrific audio from Steve, but thank you for everything else, all the other Steve, appreciate you. And Rafa, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well,
here.
as far as you mentioned, like area games, like Monday, there is one Monday game kind of close to our area, which is that's a 6A boys here for Region 4, Division 1. It's Reagan versus Cedar Park Vista Ridge. That's going to be also a great game too. Mm-hmm. That's at TLU on Monday night. So if you're out there in the Seguin area or East San Antonio, make that little 45-minute drive on I-10 and should be a good one. As far as final thoughts, like I said, it's just great start for the high school soccer playoff season. Some prizes, your usual suspects taking care of business, and like I said, we got some big games coming up, and then we also have some big matchups possibly this coming Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, depending on the weather too, because I know the weather might be a factor on Thursday and possibly even Friday. So it's going to be very interesting how so who we see in these third rounds. Like I said, a lot of great opportunities for a lot of these teams. The second round game could determine how far you can really go. Taking that next step, and especially like we mentioned about like Grapevine. Even though they have that bad record, they made a statement that first game, and if they can get that second game, I think some teams are going to be a little worried about playing them. So,
right.
But overall, like I said, best of luck to the teams that that won and advance. Congrats, and to the teams that that fell in the first round. Hey, you got something to look for next year to build upon. What can you do? Do some reflection and work hard over the off season and get it going again. Because like I said, early December will come really quick again for the 2026 season.
Yeah, all great points. Great points. Thank you, Rafa. And my final thoughts, a couple that I wanted to share. So first off, personal note I want to share. So very happy, very grateful, very proud of my girl squad, my San Antonio MacArthur girl squad, and our community being able to partake, and share in our by-district win the other night. Just very proud of all of them, how far they've come, our seniors in particular, right? 3 coaches in 4 years, and third consecutive year making the playoffs, back-to-back by district wins. and how far, this is a very historic program that I'm proud of, and I think we're on the right track. Still got a long way to go, but how far we've come, and just seeing our girls being able to celebrate that with parents, friends, supporters, fans, so much, we had a great crowd that was there. I know Rafa was there. It's just a great environment. So very happy of my girls. Really love them to death. And it's been an interesting season in terms of what we've navigated as far as our games, right? Because our record is very misleading. But just through it all, they've stuck by each other and fought for each other, and very very proud of them in beating a quality program in San Antonio Jefferson. And along the way, and just like I said, just very proud of the entire community, and no fanny packs were worn as far as I'm aware. So all the more reason why I'm very proud. But kind of wanted to follow up another point, Rafa's message. Excuse me. Those of you whose season ended this weekend, right? Do not hold your head low. Keep your head held up high, particularly our seniors. Know that you've left a great lasting legacy within your program, and your coaches are proud, because at the end of the day, only 12 teams this year, only 12 programs will have won on the last game of the season, right? And will hold a state title. Only 12 teams will really walk away fully feeling like they accomplished the ultimate goal, which is to win a state title. But who you are, what you become along the way is what you really, and just taking in the moment, and taking in the experience. Very important, very important. So hold your heads up high, and we're very proud of you for all of our competitors. And my last piece is something that, if you listen to us on Tuesday night during the start of our 5A bracketology show, something I wanted to add that's been on my mind all week since I found out on Tuesday is the passing of a team member of our podcast team, contributor to the podcast, in Mr. Tom Strong. And Tom was the father of great friend who's been on the show plenty of times, and who I befriended very well in Mr. Coach Michael Strong, of the head men's soccer coach of the Bernie Greyhounds. And the finding out of the passing of his dad, who's a good friend of mine, good friend of the program, in Mr. Tom Strong. It's been on my mind all week, and just really just wanted to say once again, give a shout out, to the family, which is a tremendous family in the Strong family, and just let them know that we played for him on Friday night. We'll continue to play for him going forward, but more importantly, just that we miss him. We will always miss him. He did a lot of work behind the scenes. If you're watching this, some of the overlay and the layout, all right, the header that you see on this, part of was his work, and we will miss him dearly. I had it on my mind all week, struggled with it multiple times this week, and just will really miss him. Strong family's in our thoughts and prayers, but more than anything, why we mention him again is just because we want to celebrate him, who's a big fan of, obviously, not only Bernie, not only MacArthur, not only obviously the podcast, but Texas high school soccer. And as we continue with this, the postseason here, the second season, we want to celebrate him and honor him, Mr. Tom Strong. So thank you for everything that you did for us. And thank you to the Strong family. We're with you. We love you. And please don't hesitate to let us know if you need anything whatsoever. So. All right. That is going to do it. Any final words, Rafa, Steve? Anything else you guys got?
Just here, ready for tonight's game for the League of Nations final. And just a little quick update. Canada is up 2-1 on the U.S. And Jesse Marsh just got a red.
Oh, nice. Nice. How far into that is that?
They're at the 64th minute.
Oh, okay. Catch the ending.
Yeah, so for me, a couple of games that I did go to this past week, and thanks for giving me this one last time, is get hydrated today. Even though you're playing on Tuesday, get hydrated today. I saw a lot of players cramping, with this crazy Texas weather. that we have. Even though it's March, we're already seeing some temperatures raise all the way to the 90s and such. Get prepared 2 days in advance. I know people always say, oh, the day before. I would start 2 days before, because I'm sure the coaches, were telling their players on Thursday, get ready for Friday. But sometimes it might be a little too late, so, get prepared, prepare yourself 2 days in advance and get hydrated, pickle juice, whatever you got to do to get hydrated, but do it because, there was times where, players and starters, I should say, are missing because of the fact that, they start cramping, and some of them were cramping in the first half. So that was, pretty unfortunate to see. Then you're dealing with that, the rest of the way. And if a game goes into, overtime and such, you're in a way, you're letting your team down, because they, are relying on you to be playing, and your coaches, they're relying on you to play, 60 to 80 minutes, or if not even more. So I would say, get the electrolytes in and try to stay hydrated as much as possible throughout the day.
All right. Great message. That is going to do it. Thank you again for our listeners, our supporters everywhere. Finishing up this show with over 1,500 live listeners and supporters across beyond the great state of Texas. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And we will be coming back to you soon with episode 9 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. We just have to determine when. We don't know yet. Could be midweek, or it could be, we might have to wait till the end next weekend, but we'll put that out there. But please spread the word. Again, like, rate, subscribe. Really appreciate all of you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You all continue to be the reason why we do it. All right. So, and we promise that no fanny packs were harmed during the filming of this show. So, all right. Until the next time, you know what to do. Keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on X at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.